Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Unacademy. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Success Sampath interacting with you. Do you want to become IAS, IPS, IFS, IRS? We Unacademy, with top educators of India and meticulously designed quality content, we have been waiting for you, especially to shape you. Once you enroll yourself in Unacademy, ladies and gentlemen, you will undergo a great learning experience. You know very well about Unacademy, India's largest and the best online education platform. What are all the benefits you are likely to get once you enroll yourself in Unacademy? Yeah, you got daily live classes, you can chat with your educator, engage in all-round productive discussions, and you can also ask all your genuine doubts and participate in the answer polls. All these things you can do when the session's going on. And you got structured courses also based on complete pattern of UPSC Civil Services Examination and syllabus so that you never get deviated from the expected framework. You make relevance, that to 100%. It's not knowing the stuff, knowing to deliver the stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not what you deliver, rather, how do you deliver? For that purpose, we got a mechanism to evaluate your preparation at various stages. The two in terms of conducting regular mock tests and quiz programs, you get in turn a detailed analysis based on your performance. Maybe you come to know where you are strong, where you are weak, and also the time you have taken that solving a particular question. You come to know everything. And once you enroll yourself in an academy, ladies and gentlemen, you will have that unlimited access, especially all the live and recorded videos for which you've got access. And not only that, you can learn from anywhere, anytime, whatever may be your electronic device, whether it is mobile phone, laptop, even desktop. Ladies and gentlemen, what you have to do, please download an Academy learning app immediately, whether it is Android or iOS. Once you download, you are ready to access all the benefits we have enlisted now. Who is this interacting with you? Ladies and gentlemen, this is Success Sampath from Chennai. And I got the unique experience of, got exposed to the fields of engineering, management, and legal education with 25 years of experience in the field of coaching, especially shaping, that the careers of civil service aspirants, especially. Ladies and gentlemen, with my team, that I could witness 250 plus results as IAS, IPS, IRS, IFS. All my kids are working in different parts of India and abroad as well. You can also ask me what's the vision of mine? Yes, to provide career solution, especially by enabling youths of India to begin with, later to embrace the global community. Fortunately, this particular vision of mine is completely in alignment with Unacademy's vision. We are working together so that you realize your dream goal. Ladies and gentlemen, you can also reach me in Telegram channel, especially by using my ID Success Sampath. Even you can also that with watch a lot of videos already available part of Unacademy platform YouTube channel, and using my that ID Success Sampath or Sampath Thiruvengidam. And even in the Unacademy platform, when you download the app, you will witness a lot of special sessions available, especially free sessions also you can watch under Success Sampath or Sampath Thiruvengidam. Ladies and gentlemen, it is right time, and that let me take you to the next level. Yeah, it's not only me. We as a team, more than 100 plus top educators of India, that waiting for you to shape you. And under UPSC Civil Service Examination, ladies and gentlemen, you got more than 15,000 courses, subject specific module, duration specific module. You can also join the program according to your convenience and budget. And under UPSC Civil Service Examination, we have devised two major programs called Plus program, that and Iconic program. What is Plus? Yes, part of this Plus, you got a lot of advantages. You got live classes, test series, unlimited practice sessions, and also, as I told you, structured schedule. Whether it is 12 months program, 24 months program, and please use my referral code, say success, to avail 10% discount. But we strongly recommend more than this Plus program, Iconic program. Especially you please that aim for 2 years of preparation. Great things will take time, ladies and gentlemen. So you want to be in that part of bureaucracy for the next 25 to 30 years of wonderful career that demands your minimal preparation. There is no leadership without passions. When that is the case, more than plus program, we expect you to participate in iconic program, which has got more than the advantages of plus. How? You got, that unique, that feature called you will be allotted a personalized coach or mentor. He or she will understand your nature and will suggest the very so-called study planner accordingly. Not only that, and he or she will be giving you the feedback and training you in terms of everyday answer writing practice. Ladies and gentlemen, here too you can go for 12 months or 24 months. We expect you to be part of 24 months, that too iconic program. Please use the referral code SUCCESS so as to avail 10% discount. Technically speaking, you end up paying mere, say 80 to 100 rupees per day basis. It's not even the expenditures of your evening snacks, but you ensure your career, ladies and gentlemen, technically speaking. Let me repeat once again. It's more than, the money what you pay, the devotion for the next 2 years, that's going to decide your service, ladies and gentlemen. It's a process. What is the purpose of our interaction today? Meanwhile, that, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Unacademy. This is Success Sampath interacting with you. This is in continuation of other sessions too. In spite of that, even newcomers, that watching this video also will benefit, and we will understand that it will be inclusive learning. The sociology as a subject matter is very popular, especially in UPSC Civil Services Examination. Why? You know very well. Number one, it is scoring. Number two, it is easy. Number three, it is quite relevant to your living because you are part of the society. Society is in you. So you are not learning anything new in the name of, that subject matter called sociology, because you know everything. Maybe the syllabus, even our teachings, or even the perspectives, the basic concepts, all thinkers, whether part of paper 1, paper 2, the global sociologists or Indian sociologists, they are going to formalize your understanding. They are going to structure your understanding by giving you suitable nomenclatures. Ladies and gentlemen, so it is, in Tamil there is a saying, "Karumbu tinna kooli." It's a very, you just imagine a situation. Once you complete your breakfast, if your mom is giving, pocket money 1,000 rupees, how it would be? Come on, take breakfast, I'll give you 1,000 rupees. It's almost like. So for your understanding, that too for quantification, you're going to get wonderful marks in UPSC Civil Service, that examination, especially mains, especially optional subject. You got 500 marks there. I'm pretty sure you can score more than 450. Why? Because, small aim is a crime. Even speaking to 450 out of 500 is wrong. I should say, why not 500 out of 500? Yeah. When we were, that undergoing schooling, that getting, that 100 in centum itself was appreciated. But today, in language papers, kids are getting centum. Whether kids are started performing fantastic or evaluators have become liberal, I don't know. It's up to you to decide. The same way, that's what happening in UPSC. As long as that your content is relevant, that the evaluator will be happy to give you. So you command your resources by your performance. That demands your preparation, that demands your involvement, that demands your practice, ladies and gentlemen. It is not simply saying, focus on the process. You need not worry about the product. That will be at your doorstep. So when that is the situation, I expect you to at least, to be realistic, that if not, too idealistic, 500 out of 500, why not at least 450 out of 500? It's possible. I'm qualified enough to speak in that way because I could score wonderful marks in sociology, SCA, GS when I was, preparing like you. Even my kids, they're part of service now. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, how? It is possible. It's easy because we got technology. We are going to share with you that technology. What we expect, you be consistent in participation, in understanding, in strictly adhering to the instructions, what we deliver in the name of classes and practice. And there comes, our evaluation and feedback to you. It is highly possible. Yes, coming back to this subject, of course, it's not only scoring in sociology. And also, that it has got advantage. You will also parallelly score in general studies paper. Yeah, in paper 1, you got, that society portion. And apart from that, in general studies, that paper 4, you got ethics paper where you got for 130 marks case studies. Case studies are nothing but all our social problems are getting, that translated into case studies that you are supposed to provide ethical solution. It may be ethical in personal, ethical in social, ethical in public administration, or ethical in environmental angle. So there, the vocabularies, the issues you face completely relevant to the subject matter called sociology predominantly. There are also other subjects like the presence I'm talking about. And beyond that, when you talk about essay paper, ladies and gentlemen, if you take into account last, that 15 to 20 years of essay questions, ladies and gentlemen, that when you analyze all the questions, you can, that combine together and group all the topics, that into 8 domains. Out of 8, 1 domain strictly restricted to reserved for society. Where comes, that relevance once again with sociology? Without preparation for essay, you can straight away go and deliver. Whether it is GS or essay, you should not show your favor, the very flavor of sociology. You should not bring case study, you should not bring sociologists, you should not bring, the perspectives. Like generalists, you are supposed to present, that knack you will come to know. But sociology expects, that all these elements, parameters. Ladies and gentlemen, coming back to this, you know very well what is sociology. It is about society, the science of society, study about society. What is society? It is a system or network of social relationship existing among human beings. When I say system or network of social relationship, social, it is not this or that. You take into account multiple aspects. When I say social, marital, familial, educational, kinship, economic, political, religious, even your identity based, the caste you belong to, the class you belong to, the gender you belong to. Otherwise, the very society, what you talk about, that why it is undergoing change. Excuse me. Why it is undergoing change? Give me a moment, please, ladies and gentlemen. The change, it's because of, that various changes happening at the level of institutions. Ladies and gentlemen, not only that, the change we are also talking about in terms of culture, in terms of structure, in terms of function. It is that way, it is right time. I think, we have done. Yes. So all these changes ultimately, that affecting various aspects of the society, that is what you call change in society. The cultural change, structural change, functional change. It is that way we are talking about, and you have to understand the very subject matter, the birth of subject matter called sociology has got its own root in the especially the various revolutions happen in Europe. Whether it is Industrial Revolution, French Revolution, say Intellectual Revolution, you call Enlightenment period, maybe that even post-Enlightenment period. All these revolutions, that impacted the society, especially at the end of 18th century till the middle of 19th century. Ladies and gentlemen, this impact created some sort of chaos, confusion in that, the continent, European continent. So the people got perplexed to some extent. Otherwise, the social scientists very much interested in society, they started questioning, what is this? If this is the society, what about the society we had in the past? If this is the society, how the society will be in future? They started writing about society, say what is society. That culminated in the very subject matter called sociology. All those social scientists, that who contributed in enriching or delineating the subject matter of sociology, they are called founding fathers of sociology. We celebrate them and we call them as social thinkers. Of course, thinkers of sociology brought them under syllabus. So those thinkers, that in continuation we are talking, we already spoke in various videos. Please, that learners, you can also watch the other videos already available, part of YouTube channel of this Unacademy, especially the basic concepts, the grand strategy, how to score maximum marks. And also the very gist I gave you, the emergence of sociology as a subject matter. And beyond that, the various basic concepts, they are otherwise called, the foundation of a building almost. Without those basic concepts, we can never understand the subject matter of sociology, even perspectives. We can't even understand even the questions posed. And also parallelly, that's enriching your understanding about society, which has got its own advantages in terms of GS, essay, in your even facing the oral interview. After that, apart from the basic, the concept series, we also, that took you to the perspectives, then, thinkers. When we talk about perspectives in sociology, it's almost like looking the same phenomenon from different angles, different perspectives. You got major perspectives, say structural functionalism, and you got conflict perspective. The structural functionalism looks at society as if a system which has got structure, which has got that order, which has got stability, which has got cooperation. But whereas conflict school of thought, it is just opposite, thinking in such a way the society that has got that will undergo change. The change is permanent there. The change because of revolution, the revolution because of the perception of exploitation by the working class against the capitalistic exploitation in the capitalist society. So it's not only in a particular capitalist society, the very that the exploitation very Karl Marx witnessed. He is the founder of conflict tradition, well, in various stages except primitive communism. So every stage with that one class opposing another, the struggle, the class antagonism, that the conflict led to change. It is that way conflict school of perspective. And you got that another perspective called symbolic interactionism, where we are talking about that the people, as an individual, you develop about that your own self-conception in social interaction and using some gestures, symbols too. So you develop meaning. Otherwise, as an individual, that I becomes that me only out of social interaction. That otherwise, looking glass self theory, like on the basis of the feedback, you treat society as a mirror under symbolic interactionism school. That's reinforced by Charles Hurton Cooley in terms of self, that looking glass self theory. Even that Sigmund Freud, G.H. Mead, everybody coming and supporting that particular symbolic interactionism school in terms of role taking, significant others, generalized others. So all these three major perspectives, ladies and gentlemen, we discussed already. And then that at thinkers level we started discussing the thinkers very well, that what are all the theories, the concepts they contributed in enriching the subject matter called sociology. And even other units called social institution, there also you will bring these thinkers once again. Under this institution, who are all the contributors and what are all the theories? Even in Indian sociology, you are going to apply the same formula, the paper 2. Ladies and gentlemen, in that line, it is in continuation of this line of thinking. Otherwise, we already discussed about the very Karl Marx, Max Weber, both belonging to the conflict school of thought. And from structural functionalism perspective, we discussed that very Emile Durkheim. And also that we introduced you to Talcott Parsons. And today, the modern, that American structural functionalist, when I say one Talcott Parsons, another one is Robert K. Merton. We are today talking about very Robert K. Merton, Robert King Merton. He also belongs to, the United States of America. Ladies and gentlemen, both Robert K. Merton and, that the very Talcott Parsons, their emphasis on, American industrial society. Ladies and gentlemen, it is, I think, this is what are, that the essence of interaction today, the very purpose of interaction today, and we are going to elaborate the very Robert King Merton's, contribution, especially from structural functionalism perspective, that after, that evaluating to some extent, that his socio, that economic background, cultural background, because that we deal in the name of biography, then all of his contributions. Because it is structural functionalism. So naturally, latent and manifest function. What is social function according to him? When it is called functional, when it is called dysfunctional. Even that the very concept anomie we already dealt under Karl Marx, even with Max Weber. When Karl Marx says the alienation because of that exploitative capitalism and inhuman working conditions. But whereas the Max Weber within that tradition differed from Karl Marx, saying that it is highly rationalized bureaucracy. You become iron cage trapped individual. You don't have freedom to move. You can't move this side, that side, because it's completely rules Ramanujam's, rule based organization. It has got obedience. It expects you to be obedient. Hierarchy. It's not properly. It's not pragmatical. It's too idealistic. Otherwise, it's not having that space for the individuals with expertise. That's why that it's not fitting the talented people. Otherwise, it's highly comfortable with the routine and ritual people. Doesn't mean it's not belittling the very bureaucratic setup. There are people making difference there and taking the administration to the next level, understanding the very spirit. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to understand. But this is the Max Weber's opinion. He was quite pessimistic about both capitalistic society and highly rationalized bureaucracy. So he also says, Max Weber also, that sharing, has got opinion over anomie, but for different reason. heavily rationalized bureaucracy, turning individuals into iron cage trapped individuals without freedom. That's why Anomie. But here, even Robert K. Merton, that belonging to the structural functionalism school, he also talks about Anomie. Each and every society talking about goals. My mom says, you will become great men in the world. Oh, thank you, ma'am. How? I don't know. You figure out. So each and every society talking about goals, but may not be prescribing sufficient means to achieve those goals. Even when you talk about India, even we have got, the infrastructural bottlenecks, even the COVID crisis, revealing how naked we are in terms of health sector and in terms of even the very education sector, given the, that in spite of that, even today, of course, that recently we evolved, new education policy to address the issues too. The social sectors, ladies and gentlemen. So we've got, I know that we are talking about goals. We have got goals. And we don't have, we are yet to reach, that efficient means, necessary means to realize those goals. There comes gap between goals and means. That is why societal socio-cultural structure responsible for generating anomie. What is anomie? A state of lawlessness, normlessness. Even based on this anomie, that Emile Durkheim said one of the the types of suicide. The state of lawlessness, normlessness also forcing an individual to commit suicide. Because according to Emile Durkheim, suicide is not individual, it is social. The social pressure. Oh, what society will think about me? That attitude. But there are other people, who cares? Easy going guys, that. But they're, that's totally different scenario. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking, a different type of personalities we have in life. It is that way. So, anomie, state of lawlessness and normlessness, where, that Robert, K. Merton elaborating the concepts of conformity, even deviance. Conformity, you are said to be in conformity. That you strictly adhere to the values and norms of the society. Deviance, you are deviating from the accepted framework. You are said to be deviant. As you say, juvenile delinquency, the children less than 18 years old committing criminal offense, they won't be sent to the regular prisons on par with that adult criminals, prisoners, and they've got separate mechanism because they are kids. The reformative schools you have for them, that they are called deviants, not criminals. You see, understand the vocabulary is, that right word in right context. That's very important. So you reach 100% of communication. Otherwise, that it may not be, ladies and gentlemen. So this clarity of, that in terms of usage of vocabulary, in delivery, in understanding, that, that's what byproduct of sociology. And beyond that, when I say the various perspectives on the part of sociology, ladies and gentlemen, so that gives you different angles about a particular phenomena, a particular element of society. So you get, ultimately what is the truth, reality, the objectivity. You don't take sides. Otherwise, as even sociology, Max Weber, expecting every sociologist to be, that practicing value neutral. It may be difficult. It may be difficult. As you say, the hands, that which served roses, how come you can expect the hands to be free from the fragrance of the, that roses? Definitely there will be fragrance in your hands. The same way, that how come you can, supposed to, how come you can be free from 100%, free from the influence of your societal value system, your socialization? Because after all, your personality is a byproduct of your socialization. Definitely there will be imprints. Cradle to grave process, we say. Something you learnt in the past, of course, that's sticking with you for long. But you become conscious and later you unlearn. Sometimes you relearn. All these things happening. So on that note, we are said to be conformist, person of conformist or deviant. Of course, conformity and deviance notions. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not only that, that R K Merton also addressing, that about reference groups. What is social group? Collectivity of people on interaction. When they interact, when they become aware, they start interacting, hi. That interaction, when it becomes repetitive, frequent, that results in a configuration, a pattern, there a group is born. So what happened, in your friendship group, how it is formed, how you formed family, come on, how you form association, trade union. Yes, people come together with particular awareness, they start interacting, hi. It may be emotion based, it may be purpose based, interest based, it may be ideology based. Ladies and gentlemen, that gives opportunity for frequent repetitive interaction. When the repetitive interaction arrives at a pattern, a configuration, a structure, what do you call? When I say structure, the group reached crystallization. It has got its own president, secretary, treasurer, office bearers, of course, the members and rules and regulations. Even in the family, the same is the case. The moment you reach structure, a group is born. That particular group may be primary, secondary, as said by Charles H. Cooley. But here Robert K. Merton talking about reference group. You treat a particular social group as a matter of reference, either for right reason or for wrong reason. Whether you have to emulate that group, or you don't want to be, that like that. Accordingly, positive reference group, negative reference group, where he is going to elaborate other concepts like, that you feel deprived when comparing with that group. Your own friends already joined service. They are now taking training in Lal Bahadur Shastri, Academy, Missouri. And when comparing with those, that guy will be sending you everyday picture. Say, today I underwent this lecture. I've been, honored this way. So you feel relatively deprived when comparing with, that your friend. Maybe that guy copied from you in your examination hall when you were doing schooling. Maybe probably after that, he understood the importance of, that achieving in society. They achieved recently. Now you feel relatively deprived. You also started, that particular group of your friends already joined service. They have become your reference group, positive reference group. You want to emulate that particular group pattern. So that's why you are socializing. Now you are preparing. You are sitting in front of me. You are watching this. Why? You want to score more marks in sociology, so that you get good rank. You become topper more than the ranks, got by your friends. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. So that reference groups theory talking about that relative deprivation. And also it talks about anticipatory socialization with an expectation to get the membership in that particular reference group where your friends are there already. Lal Bahadur Shastri Academy, Missouri, that is your reference group, positive reference group. To get the membership there, that for that you train yourself, you prepare yourself, you socialize yourself with an expectation. So you started applying UPSC, you started preparing, you are part of the process now. All these things, that of course he talks about, all of his theories could be called as middle range theories. That's between on abstractness on the one hand, the empiricism on the other hand. This is what we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. So this and all, that to give introduction to all of the contributions of, that the modern structural functionalist, say Robert K. Merton. Not only that, he also that adopted a strategy by questioning the traditional functionalism, the postulates of functionalism we are going to talk. And he took the very functionalism from the accusation of conservatism to the next level and made it more relevant to the current practice. Apart from, that contributing battery of concepts of, sociology and enriching the subject matter of sociology, he also took out the very structural functionalism from the accusation of, the traditionalism, the conservatism, so as to serve the modern day goods. Ladies and gentlemen, so I hope you understood. That is a brief introduction, that for the Robert K. Merton, I believe. I think it is right time, ladies and gentlemen, to take you to the next level. Finally, we will be, discussing the resources to enrich your understanding more than what, that you learn out of the session, and to make it, that complete in sense in terms of material collections too. So whenever you sit in front of my session, please sit with paper and pen so that you note down. Apart from, of course, you can watch the videos many times also to enrich further. It is that way, ladies and gentlemen. I think, we gave wonderful introduction. Thank God, I believe, right? It is right time. And let's make it more relevant now. What is this? Yes, in what way it is related to UPSC Civil Services Examination? Yes, this is what the unit. I told you many times, in sociology, the mains optional subject, a very popular, highly scoring, where, that you got paper 1, paper 2. Paper 1 talks about global sociology, thinkers, theories, institutions, and social change, whereas paper 2 about Indian sociology. There too you have, that Indian sociologists, of course, thinkers, and Indian social institutions, Indian social problems, and even social change theories there too. And that makes sense, quite relevant to your understanding more. Otherwise, applying all these theories and thinkers concepts in Indian context is called paper 2. In paper 1, you got one wonderful unit, very important unit, that is called thinkers. That's what, that we are focusing now. If you're very strong in this unit, you can score up to maximum 250. Out of 250, of course, at least 200. Why not? Ladies and gentlemen, it's that way. Yes, it is that way, ladies and gentlemen. I'm talking about, that. So we already, that spoke about, discussed the Karl Marx thoroughly, that in depth, even Emil Durkheim or Durkheim, the Max Weber, Emil Durkheim, very well, structural functionalist, Karl Marx, Max Weber, belonging to conflict tradition. And, that even Talcott Parsons, modern structural functionalism, we already discussed. You can watch all those videos already available, part of YouTube channel of Unacademy. Ladies and gentlemen, today our discussion is centered around Robert King Merton. We introduce concepts to. And we got one more, the thinker to be discussed, that after this session, you will witness, that in the future videos. Ladies and gentlemen, you understood the relevance of our discussion today? Yes. If you want to appreciate ideas, you have to understand the root of that ideas. See, for every mom, handling kid is easy because, she has already seen the father, of course, her husband. More or less. Sometimes it may be quite different also. She has got some prototype. Otherwise, when she handles, that mother-in-law, it becomes very easy for her to handle her son, of course, her husband, because she knows the source, the problem. It's not a problem, even where it comes from. So the moment you understand the root, the background, it becomes very easy for you to appreciate things in the world, to understand things in the world beyond that. So in that node, because every idea has got its own root, the historical roots. Without understanding the context, we may not be understanding the ideas, letter and spirit. Otherwise, we don't even appreciate the relevance sometimes because of that. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that note, that we are talking, of course, our focus is going to be on, a street fighter who became, sociologist later, we are talking about. Of course, that, I don't know, the very Jewish community, all social scientists belong to Jewish community. Of course, the Russian Jews, the very family into which, that this gentleman born, R K Merton, a Harvard a scholar, MA, PhD from Harvard University, later Temple University, a professor emeritus. We are talking, that not only that, he has been, that honored with so many awards. Even one of his daughter got Nobel prize also. All these things we are talking about. Very recently in 2003, that he passed away. Of course, it is that way, that he's that more of the Eastern Europe, that the Philadelphia, the focus we are talking about in his lifetime. And his original name, of course, that Meyer, Skolnik, that's what his original name, a Russian Jew family into which he was born, ladies and gentlemen. And his father himself, that a sociologist. It is that way. And as I said, that his lifestyle, how street fighter, then ultimately, that we are talking about, he practiced magics also. And the biography, that it speaks in such a way, that you come to know. It's not speaking good. Maybe it's because of that, he understood the concept deviance. Later, he contributed, tremendously to the subsections of criminology. Maybe his, that laboratory, practical experience, I feel. And also, he became to some extent philosopher when he attacked, that various theories, concepts, and philosophizing things. Otherwise, as a sociologist, you see two sides of a single coin. Right, it is that way. So, and also later, all of his contributions, that making 100% relevance, that relevant to sociology. That's why, we celebrate him as sociologist. Not only is that, his approach is called as theoretical pluralism. The theory may not be always one. As we said, that causal pluralism in the case of the very, that Max Weber. Even in Indian context, you say cultural pluralism. We don't have one single culture, monoculture. We got multiple cultures. And also we expect peaceful coexistence out of that. It's melting, that part, unity and diversity. The same way, it's many. The theory is not one. It's not mono theory. It's a multiple theory, theoretical pluralism. For every, that aspect, you got, multiple theories. That is the notion. It's approach otherwise, that's why he questions, that the very structural functionalism. How? And, that all accusations, that he addressed in such a way, you're going to witness. his sociological career under the guidance of, that George, that Simpson. Of course, we have to talk about, that who inspired him, that who guided him. Not only that, he became junior member of Talcott Parsons' dissertation committee when he was doing research. He is not direct disciple, if you say, it won't be right, that. So junior member of, the Parsons dissertation committee we are talking about. So you understand, that's why we group together. Not only structural functionalism, modern structural functionalism, not only because of the thing both are belonging to, that United States of America, and also the link with, Talcott Parsons in his research, part of dissertation committee, with other members, very well, the Petrim Zworykin, that he contributed to, that birth, growth, decay, that the cyclical theories, that we are going to talk in social change. And Carl Z. Zimmerman, and that, and the historian of, the science, that we talk about, the very George Sarton too. Ladies and gentlemen, that it is to give some, that some information about his background, so that you appreciate, understand better. It's a close, he also talks about the close connection between theoretical issues and empirical evidence. In between he that positions himself. That's why middle range theory. On the one side, abstract theory, other side, something for which you can get evidence, that evidence based, of course, empirical in nature. All of his concepts in between, though it is social science, very well, even you tasted already this kind of concepts in terms of positivism by Emile Durkheim. The methods of natural sciences can be applicable even to society, where you talk about, but in spite of that, that the criticism against, that's totally different scenario. So the close connection between theory on the one hand, empirical evidence on the other. In between, you talk about middle range theories, that of this R K Merton. 1 second, please, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, it is refuting the postulates of, that functionalism. That's what I told you. Though he belongs to, structural functionalism, that he attacked the criticisms of, that against that functionalism, how unity, universality, and indispensability. Because, that when you talk about functionalism, the pillar concept of structural functionalism, because, that unity, all, that institutions contributing always for social order, you've got functional unity. May not be. Sometimes, that that the very unity, sometimes, that they may be weakening already existing social solidarity. Say, for example, religion. Religion as a social institution once upon a time, brought people together, the congregation. Even Emile Durkheim's, term you call solidarity, by collective representation, collective conscience, that brought social order. But today, the very religion, well, it has become a seed of separatism for some bad people. For great men, religion is a tool for connecting people. For small men, a religion is a tool for dividing people. And that is why, that we moved from mere religious to spiritual. It's more than religion. You understand, all different paths leading to the same destination, that spirit. You understand the spirit. You are part of the great spirit, the soul, that's spiritualism. If you understand there won't be competition between religions, you appreciate, that even somebody else's path also, and what is best. Otherwise, you seek underlying common patterns sometimes. So for great men, religion is a tool for connecting people. For small men, religion is a tool for dividing people. So please don't enter into competition. If you become spiritual, that is why we talk about, the very Dr. Kalam, the people's president, gone to the extent of appreciating, that though he is a Muslim, born Muslim, gone, that he never, that forgets to thank his, school teacher, Shiva Subramaniam Iyer, the gratitude, and to mingle with others, that religious leaders. Even Vikram Sarabhai, today, that we have to, his birthday, it's right time to talk about him, the India's visionary, who went to, that the very, the church of, the Kerala, the fisherman hamlet in that region, there was a church. And he spoke with that, Father Pereira. And Pereira also accepted, gave that land for the ISRO's office. where that people started now today Tumba Equatorial launching center. We are talking about how come that the people of two different that religions came together for the common purpose. It is that way, ladies and gentlemen. But today the very religion, that when we talk about dysfunctional aspect, so religion may not be always bringing two people together, sometimes also separating the people that apart. In that sense, it could be dysfunctional also. Not all institution, a single institution, they're always bringing social order. It is that way. Not all institutions are bringing social order. Some institution may be, that going against the purpose. Otherwise, it's not performing the same function everywhere. Say, for example, family as a social institution. Once upon a time, it was called, a production as well as consumption unit, because the whole, say, especially the agriculture society, the whole family involved in agriculture process, they produce collectively, they consume collectively. Today in the industrial society, we got reduced to mere consumers because production happens in factories. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. So once upon a time, the very family socialized the young kids. Today you delegate it. Now you got creche, the kindergartens to take care. It is that way. So you outsourced. It is that way. The purpose gone. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way we are talking about. So if you don't have this, you can't do anything. There are functional prerequisites. Part of that the very structural functionalism. Even Talcott Parsons spoke about agile model. If you don't have family, who will socialize the young one? Now you got creche. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. So the very, the very joint family behaving like, that the whole life, that was lived within. You got common home, common kitchen, common property, common worship. Everything shared in common, part of extended family we are talking about. But today, the joint family broken down, that into, nuclear and neo-local family. If you don't have this family, you can't do anything. That was the thought. No, you completely outsourced all those, functionalities to rest of the institutions in the society. The indispensability became a question mark. So the very structural functionalism you celebrate because of its postulates, its functional unity, its functional universality, it is functional indispensability. You got functional alternatives. If you don't have this institution, other institution will take care of you. You got common kitchen. Of course, that your Swiggy, Zomato, Uber feeding you. Except during crisis times, that whether I'm in Delhi, different parts of India, even, the Chennai, and that it is feeding me apart from my family. You got alternatives. And people started questioning the very marriage also. Why marriage? Why not live-in relationship? Why children should be born to only, married couple? Why not adoption? Why, that a woman should give, birth to a kid? Why not, that ultimately surrogate mother? You delegate, you outsource. Ladies and gentlemen, this is, you can't say, this is the change we witness on the part of, various social institutions in society. How we are ready to cope up with, you call modernity, or challenges, or crisis, or compromising, that social institutions in the name of, that economic institutions. It's up to you. Or you simply watch as a change. As you were mute spectator in the past, today also you are mute spectator. Otherwise, you understand the structure. You go with the flow. It is up to you. So, refuting the postulates of functionalism, so that enriched, that the learners' understanding about the very structural functionalism, that they started developing respect. It is no more, conservatism. It is that, that the stand that you took because of that. So, of course, that he says, that the very function, we spoke already about this concept. What is function? Social function. Social consequences. It's not mere, celebration like that, the mathematical logic function, or it's not talking about mere role or working. Function, when you say, according to that R K Merton, social consequences in reinforcing social order, whatever may be, family, how it contributes for the establishment of social order by properly socializing young one and also molding personality to the culture of the society, so that you never find conflicting environment. The family, the order you witness in the family, the same order you witness in the society also, like family, like society. Ladies and gentlemen, it's that way. So the family's contribution for the social order. That's why there is no chaos or conflicting environment. A guy who became obedient to the family, obedient to the constitution outside, IPC, CRPC. A guy who is respecting women in family will also respect women in the society. When women is exploited in the society, the women will also be exploited by the society. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way it becomes dysfunctional, the family. It is that way, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about. So, that whenever you say social function, it talks about social consequences promoting social order or weakening social order. In that sense, you call dysfunctions. We are not talking about contribution or destruction, non-functions. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way, that according to Robert K. Merton, we are talking about, and he spoke about, that role model. You treat particular social group as a role model to be emulated. We spoke already. And not only that, the self-fulfilling prophecy. You would have seen, that advertisements, old day advertising. I think in the past, right, maybe for some creams, face cream advertisement. What will happen? A girl will come, especially in the TV advertisement, and she will, witness, oh, there is acne, skin eruption, a pimple. Oh, that what happened? Oh, she already, developing negative mode. Oh, my boyfriend will not look at me, and ultimately, that he will look into, that another girl called Sheetal, and he will go after Sheetal. What to do? Oh, gone. Negative perception about, that you develop, what you imagine, that becomes true. I think it is right time to recall. You become as you think. If you think you are strong, you become strong. If you think you are weak, you become weak. That is the thing. That is the spirit of this self-fulfilling prophecy. In Tamil, there is a thing. நீ என்ன நினைக்கிறாயோ அதுவாகவே ஆகிறாய். Welcome, Chandu. எண்ணம் போல் வாழ்வு. And that is why உள்ளுவதெல்லாம் உயிர்வாழ். These are all the Tamil sayings I am talking about. Don't worry. So, as you think, you become. That is the spirit of the meaning. People from other parts of India, please understand this. So, self-fulfilling prophecy. And also, that the unintended consequences where this, the function, social function could be manifest function, latent function. Manifest function, you are very obvious. Latent function, that you never thought about it. You thought one thing, what happened in different thing. That is unintended consequences. That is what in Manrega, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, that the very, that the government thought in such a way, which is going to stop migration. People won't go from rural to urban areas in pursuit of employment, because urban areas already struggling with a lot of problems, unable to absorb or accommodate these people. Otherwise, these people going there and spoiling the urban environment, that becomes urban poverty, urban slum, the ghetto. That becomes, breeding ground for antisocial elements. Otherwise, for every, that anger of politician, it will be burnt. After that, they will be announcing schemes, you witness, when they approach elections. Otherwise, that will be cleared. The very Purampok, of course, that, unclaimed lands will be, occupied by these people. That will be, encroached by, the private, the people, the goons, thugs, maroons, you see all. It becomes, social problem, law and order issue then. And also they become, they stay, their family is very close to, that, of course, the ditch, like Kuvam in Chennai, highly vulnerable to diseases, all around problems. So why? So let us stop them, that in their own locality. Let us give them employment. Let us eradicate poverty. For that, let us announce the scheme. That's what Manrega we are talking about. Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. It's working even now well. Even the COVID crisis, it supported very well the migrant, that laborers in different states. That it is, well, the importance, relevance. The very purpose to eradicate poverty, attack poverty, and to eradicate unemployment, and also create rural assets by giving them 100 days job, employment, and also stopping migration. But what happened? What's happening now? The social audit reveals parallelly. I'm talking about bad story, which you never thought about it. Unintended consequences. Other side of the coin, these guys are doing nothing. They go and they simply sign. If say, that in some states 180 rupees, 220 rupees and all also paid. and that's totally depending on that local the price mechanism, inflation. But say 100 rupees, they will sign, they will get 60 rupees, 40 rupees commission. That's also happening. This is corruption. And because of these guys, that without doing job, they get that money, they don't go to other jobs also. So because of these, Manrega, because the free money, I mean by corruption, the agricultural laborers, that very much needed for doing agriculture becomes a question mark. It affects agriculture ultimately. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about, otherwise, the self-help groups, women part of, the self-help groups, they are coming and complaining. This guy is going to Manrega, doing nothing, getting money, going to Taskmark, drinking, that the liquor shops and doing nothing, not giving the money to family also. Ultimately, women, they're taking care of the family, especially by going for microfinance under self-help groups, very well. All these things are, that's what reality. What we thought one thing, what's happening in another thing. There is always a gap between, that what we intend and what it is realistic. The way with which you reduce down, that proves who you are, what the system is, what personality we are. It is that way, ladies and gentlemen. So this unintended, unrecognized, hidden, latent, that is what, that a social function could be manifest, very obvious, but latent also, which happens, unintended consequences also. Sometimes that could become, the functional or dysfunctional accordingly. We are going to talk about it. That this and all the things we are talking about, biography. And even the very self-fulfilling prophecy we already spoke, that as what do you think you become. So of course, you see in terms of, because you're going to write. You can ask me, sir, why big paragraphs? This is not the PPT. The PPT style is totally different. Only, that 4 words I ensure. But here, my responsibility is totally different. Because as that as a learner, you have to understand not only my stories, you have to see some vocabularies, even some important definitions, so that goes to your mind. It becomes very easier for you to deliver. I adopt different strategy when it comes to sociological delivery. I'm sorry, but more than beauty, more than aesthetic sense, the purpose. We are moved by that. Of course, it is that way. So the self-fulfilling prophecy, a prediction that is directly or indirectly causes itself to become true. You predict this is what likely to happen. Of course, prediction or your imagination, what do you think ultimately, either directly, indirectly, it becomes true. It is fortunate if you think, that positive. Think about negative. So that's why, that be optimistic. No negative thinkings, be optimistic about the situation. It is that way. But you have to evaluate. You go for, the SWOT. But it's not free from, that impact. That's totally different scenario. But here, so this particular theory, self-fulfilling prophecy, it talks both. If you think positive, that the positive result. If you think negative also, there will be, the negative. Your prediction becomes true. That is the true spirit here. Your prediction becomes true. That is the meaning, ladies and gentlemen, by the very terms of prophecy itself. Due to positive feedback between, what you believe, that becomes behavior. See the connectivity between belief and behavior. Even you would have watched Bahubali, a guy, that the hero ultimately, that he believes himself. Ultimately, that he carries everything. That whatever may be the weight, ultimately the statue, that people say Bahubali. Of course, that the very strong belief, self-belief you develop. It is also that positive tone. So you become as you believe yourself. So believe yourself that you can, believe you can. Even, the United States of America's, election sloganeering, very well. Believe you can. Obama, believe you can. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, self-fulfilling prophecy. So your prediction, either directly or indirectly, that becomes true. Your belief becomes your behavior. So now the choice is in front of you. To have right belief or wrong belief, accordingly the behaviors. Ladies and gentlemen, so although examples of such prophecies can be found in the literature as far back as ancient Greece, it's not new to you. That's what I'm parallelly linking. What do you think you become? That's what all our literature, the religion, even Swami Vivekananda, everybody talking to, even the political circle, we say, even psychologists, the motivators. So it's not new. It's available everywhere. That goes as far as, the back ancient Greece, ancient India. It's 20th century sociologists, of course, we are talking about here. The Robert K. Merton, that we are talking about, who is credited with coining the expression, self-fulfilling prophecy and formalizing its structure and consequences. Ladies, consequences, of course, the intended consequences or unintended consequences. You call it may be latent function. You mean here its structure, ladies and gentlemen, the relationship between belief and behavior you address. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. So, in his book, Social Theory and the very social structure, Merton gives a feature of self-fulfilling prophecy. That is, that's what I told you. When Roxana falsely believes her marriage will fail, it will fail. And fears of failure will occur. Actually, that it actually causes the marriage to fail. You understand now? You're going to succeed in the examination. You're going to become, all India topper with top marks by scoring, more than 450 in 500 out of 500 in sociology. If this is going to be your belief, it's going to happen. Only thing you have to, that match by, the practice. You have to translate that ambition into reality that demands your involvement. It is not, fixing goal and sleeping. That demands means, efficient means from your angle. That is your part. Ladies and gentlemen, it is not simply become ambitious and doing nothing. That's the problem then, ladies and gentlemen. So I've got belief in you. Hope the moment you think about ambition, that will drive you, that won't allow you, because the dream that never comes in your sleep, the dream that never allows you to sleep. It is that way, ladies and gentlemen. I want you to. So you can also have this self-fulfilling prophecy of R K Merton. You can practice this way. Your belief becomes your behavior. Your belief becomes true. Whatever may be your belief, it's up to you. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. I think right time. So not only. So this self-fulfilling prophecy is in the beginning a false definition of the situation. You can say, what is this? There is a saying in Tamil, Kangal vaanathai nokkinalum kaalgal taraiyil irukka vendum. So even when the eyes are looking at sky, ensure that your legs are grounded. Be humble, man. Why always flying like that? People say, of course, it appears like that you define the situation. It's a false, something which is imaginary. That's what your prediction is all about. But when you fix ambition, when you fix goal, when you become ambitious, when you become a dreamer, when you've got a dream that drives you, that will evoke, the animal spirit comes in, because you thought. That's what I say. You think yourself, you already achieved. You become officer. That should be your attitude. You develop that maturity. So naturally, you will start working accordingly. You will feel responsible. The moment you fix, your dream, your ambition, your goal, that expects you to, that match that ambition. All your behaviors accordingly. You want to become Prime Minister of India? Accordingly, you will start. Because where there is will, there is victory. Ladies and gentlemen. The Earl Nightingale, that's what they think. That of course, the people may criticize you. It's defining, the false definition of the situation. That is what imaginary. That is what your poem. Kavidaikku poyyazhagu, in Tamil there is a saying. So what are all the poem you appreciate? It's a lie, but you enjoy, you appreciate. That becomes true later also. There are some people very conscious. They take hue or inspiration from that line, ultimately making realistic. There are guys saying, that the very, that maybe your Bollywood songs, the Josh you develop from movie, and that Apne Time Aa Gaya, the Gully Boys, maybe I don't know. Even, there are a lot of movies in Tamil also. People get inspiration from Tamil songs. The Tamil heroes are the Bollywood heroes, you take inspiration. Even Bahubali, the inspiration, self-belief, of course. It may be imaginary to start with, but that evokes a new behavior, the self-belief. That's what people say. Even motivational experts will say. Whatever talent you have, if you don't have self-belief, it's nothing. A guy who is achieving everything, maybe he lacks, the talent, but he knows how to employ people for that particular talent. It is delegation. But he has got great self-belief, he achieves. One who has got great self-belief achieves. Of course, that self-belief, that maybe, to start with, people may, that say it is imaginary. That guy lives, the dreams like that. False definition of the situation, but that will evoke, bring in a new kind of behavior, which makes the original false conception becoming true. The very Abraham Lincoln, having failed in various stages, gone to the level of the first victory, the President of USC. Even the Prime Minister Modi ji, the first MP first Prime Minister, first time entering Delhi, that parliament as Prime Minister. A chai wala became Prime Minister. What source of inspiration you need? So I'm not entering into that other side of the coin. That is not our subject matter, cup of tea now. Understand? You can take hue from everywhere. There are a lot of leaders from rags to riches, from humble background to reach the greatest level in the world. It is that way. I think you justify everything in terms of self-fulfilling prophecy. You can also practice that. I think this is that that comes out German. Of course, the prophecy by Robert King Merton. This specious that validity we are talking about of the self-fulfilling prophecy perpetuates a reign of error. For the prophet will cite actual course of events as a proof, as he was right from the very beginning. Whatever maybe that. So it's up to you. That to criticize that or to speak other way around. I think that we don't want to stress much in that. So that not only that his association with Paul Lazarsfeld, of course that invites this particular kind of criticism. Not only that, in other words, the prophecy declared as truth when it's actually false. maybe that sufficiently influence people either through fear, that or logical confusion, so that their that reactions that ultimately fulfill one's false prophecy. Otherwise some people will say, I told some like that's what you're all your astrologers. I told all these things it is very natural, it is that way. So whatever may be I think that self-fulfilling prophecy taking much time, and beyond that very well a professor emeritus, this R K Merton renders special services to the university, teaching at Columbia University, very well. Of course, he got graduated from Harvard University, then Temple University, the scholar. Merton received many national, international honors. Of course, we are talking about, and not only that, and the first sociologist to be, that elected to National Academy of Sciences, the first American sociologist elected to the foreign member of Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences, and corresponding, that a lot of accolades I'm talking about on the part of R K Merton. And the member of American Philosophical Society, American Academy of Arts and Science, and he was awarded, that Talcott Parsons Prize, the National Academy of Education, Academy, all these, we are talking about. In 1994, Merton was awarded U.S. National Medal of Science, and was the first sociologist to receive a lot of a street fighter who became scholar sociologist with this much honor. Merton was, that married twice. Of course, that the deviant, conformity, deviance, that the social worker and fellow sociologist. This is all maybe that enriching concepts. It is that way. Here you find conformity on the one hand, deviance on the other. What is functional becomes dysfunctional. The unintended consequences. Otherwise, you are talking about So the very theories with which you can link. And he had one son, two daughters. The point is, the daughter was later given, that 1997 Nobel Prize for, that economics. That's totally different story. Whatever may be, science, technology, and society in the 17th century England, especially, that the 1938 publication made the very R K Merton well known among, historians of science. It was an attempt to refute the Boris, that Heysen's famous Marxist account in 1931. The socio-economic roots of that Newton's the Principia we are talking about, that it is about this particular thing. He became famous among the very historians of science, of course social science. Ladies and gentlemen, his contributions under the title we are talking about, Mass Persuasion 1946, and Social Theory and Social Structure, especially in different with modified edition 49, 57, 68, where he is discussing the social theory, empirical research, structural functionalism approach, the manifest latent function, even dysfunction, the middle range theory, what I spoke, which is in between a theory and that empirical evidence, and also the reference group theory. And we are going to elaborate all these things also later. We are still in that biography, ladies and gentlemen. So what is this? So the sociology of science, the contributions we are talking about, and sociological ambivalence also, different contributions under different titles, ladies and gentlemen. So on the shoulders of giants, just idea, have an idea, that's all. It's not to by heart or anything. Something. I think that something about R K Merton before you come to know his contribution, so that you connect easily. So on social structure and Science 96, the travels and adventures of serendipity, the feeling, that the same feeling about, that some wonderful situation we talk about, a feeling of serendipity, a study in sociological semantics and sociological science. Ladies and gentlemen, all of these contributions, that for which we celebrate this Robert King Merton, American structural functionalist, part of structural functionalism school of thought. Well, we spoke the very function could be classified into latent function or manifest function. What is manifest function? You just imagine a situation. Why we send kids, children to school? Why we send children to school? When you ask the kid, what do you say? See, if I go to school, there will be Diya and Ramesh, and all those people will be there. I'll be playing nicely, and what will happen? Then bell the rings, na, ting 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 ting. We'll say, yay. For kid, going to school is fun. That is not the purpose for which you send. Of course, fun is needed, but that is not the very purpose for which we send our kids to schools. To impart knowledge, to discipline, to inculcate value system. That is what, the very obvious, very intention on the part of, sending his kids to the school. But the kid's opinion is subjective opinion. School means fun, meeting friends, place to meet friends. I'm not talking about right and wrong. So what the very purpose for which you send kid, but the kid's opinion, it is unintended consequences. So it is good company, the more than your expectation, kid, that getting influenced by the peer group, friendship, and working fantastic, and bringing laurels to the family, sometimes becoming, sports person in the school, or developing, that extracurricular activities, participation, and bringing, very good laurels to the very education institution, school also, by participating in other, the competitions representing the school. That's totally different scenario. It could be functional. Sometimes it could be dysfunctional also. How? Maybe in the bad company, the kids may become delinquents. So what you think one thing, what's your intention may become, totally opposite. It becomes unintentional. That's latent. For every social function, already function means it is not mere festival, occupation, role, status, mathematical meaning. The vital organic processes which contributes for the maintenance of the organism, for the maintenance of the social order, social stability. The function means social consequences in promoting social order. That is what the meaning according to R K Merton. It is objective, observable consequences, not subjective the disposition. The objective, the very purpose, which is free from bias, observable, you can recognize. That is what the intention of sending kids to the school. But what kids, that opinion is totally different. Fun, that is subjective. So when you talk about social function, you have to understand objective, observable social consequences, not subjective disposition. That's what, that the very phrase of, that R K Merton, you might be aware. But that function could be, that classified into manifest, intentional, and what happens is unintentional, latent function, hidden. Got the idea? You don't recognize. You never thought about it. That's latent. But what you think that happens is manifest. Manifest function. Accordingly, it could be called, that functional, or you say dysfunctional. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what we spoke. It could be functional or dysfunctional. What may be the participant observer as a kid to decide the meaning of social function. Example, school going kid. Otherwise, your ambition of becoming IAS officer. You want to become IAS, IPS. That why you want to become? Don't say, sir, that SP, it's a matter of shame, I had at the hands of that guy in front of everybody. One day fine morning, I will become IPS officer. Maybe you may have your own, subjectivity. But that is latent. But the obvious function of you becoming officer, of course, that to become, that part of, civil servant of India, to serve the nation, to serve the people, and for the betterment of, administration, by properly contributing and coordinating the efforts of the government. That is manifest function. But what, that the very thing you said, otherwise, the one girl said no to you. So, that otherwise, that you want to prove in front of that family, you want to become IAS officers so that they stand in line for you, waiting for you. What is this? That is your personal. That is not, objective function on the part of, becoming IAS officer. That is your subjective function. Ladies and gentlemen, otherwise, the becoming IAS officer manifest function, you are going to make difference in administration. Some guys becoming corrupt officials. That's unintended, latent function. It is that way you argue. So it could be functional, it could be dysfunctional too. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way we are talking about. This is, that let's move to next slide. Not only that, the very social function, as we spoke already, the very phrase, it is objective, observable, objective, not biased. The true meaning, the sending children to schools to impart knowledge, to discipline, inculcate value system, observable, that you can recognize, and you take into account that one institution, schools, and before entering how we were, while coming out how we are. Got the idea, na? Maybe the first standard, this is, while coming out of, that the school after 12th standard, see the phenomenal growth you had. The consequences, definitely, which you can observe also. The social consequences, how the education, the discipline, you became part of the culture, definitely, which is going to, that you are going to improve the social order, but not subjective disposition. This is subjective disposition in the sense the kids utilizing that particular environment as fun. That is also needed for the personality development, but I'm not, the disputing that, but it's not way of looking at things school only for fun. That is wrong. But frankly speaking, that there are guys utilize the very education institution in becoming that maybe athletes, like the, of course, school dropout, Sachin we are talking about, even why you can't become like MS Dhoni. It is that way up to you. That is your subjective disposition. That the maybe that you talk about latent function, it is also functional. It is that way. So what is that? Even the dropout Mark Zuckerberg, of course, very well what happened, well. So, that now he is leading the great company called Facebook, very well. It is that way. That's totally different. So, the function, observed consequences, which make for the adaptation and adjustment of the given system. That is what, you got another definition parallelly. So, you adapt to the adapting or adoption to the or adjustment of the given system. So as to, ensure already existing social order and not getting disturbed. You maintain the equilibrium. So all centered around social order, social integration, social cohesion, social stability, social solidarity, whatever you call. In promoting that, any event, any function is called as functional. In weakening the already existing social order or stability, it could be called dysfunctional. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way, the function. So dysfunction, observed consequences which lessen the adaptation or weakening or destroying the already existing social order in the social system. Maybe you can argue caste that way. The caste system, those days it was functional, but today it is also functional for politicians because the identity politics, caste based. ADMK, All India Anna Dravida Munnetra Kazhagam, is otherwise called as All India, the Devar Munnetra Kazhagam, the dominant caste influence. But of course nowadays other parties also understood, that this particular notion, they also started having their own, base in those, the dominant caste base, well. But now it's totally different scenario, we are talking about it is that way. So the caste and polity, the close connection, even Rajni Kothari talking about it, well, the identity politics, appealing the masses, influencing the voting behavior of the masses by appealing in terms of the caste. That's totally different scenario. Well, all these things. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. Even using religion also to influence the masses is, that identity politics and language and regionalism or race, all various forms of identity politics. Ladies and gentlemen, come back. So the caste was functional those days and later it became dysfunctional. Why? The rigidity, the closedness, the social disability, the taboo. Otherwise, that you fundamentally violate, that outrightly reject inherent potential of the human being, because that talks about hierarchy, that talks about purity pollution notion. It is very fortunate if you are born in the higher ladder. Lower ladder, they will be facing multiple levels of suppression, oppression, exploitation. So that's why we have got constitutional corrections from Dr. Ambedkar. Of course, we talk about the reservation, historical recorrection we do. So we also involve that indulging in social inclusion, inclusive governance we are talking about. We've got national commission, and we got that the prohibition of discrimination, all those efforts. That's totally different scenario. So later context, the very cause became dysfunctional. That is the message we are driving here. And not only that, the very manifest, you're very obvious, this is what likely to happen, you recognize this is what your intention is, called manifest function. Latent function, you don't recognize, you never thought about it, it happened unintentionally, it comes unintended consequences. For Manrega, unintended consequences, corruption, as well as impact on agriculture, as well as that not creating rural asset or spoiling the money. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. Otherwise, sometimes that not implementing the 1/3 of reservation, that it's that way we are talking about. So the distinction that goes beyond the common sense perception, ladies and gentlemen, it is not from common sense, that we are, that coming to this segregation. Sociologically speaking, of course, you bring everything under middle range theories, that the very concept that's between theory on the one hand, empiricism, show me proof attitude on the other. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. This is right time. Let me take you to the next level. What is this? Of course, the criticism against this. The criticism need not be always going against. It should be constructive also. You can also give alternative opinion to that particular concept. Need not be always, telling or refuting or falsifying the statement. Hope you understand. You can also draw parallelism, the constructive criticism in that sense. Of course, the very criticism on the part of, that A.R. Ratcliffe Brown, who is called structural functionalist, even much celebrated in the part of anthropological world also. The function of any recurrent activity is the part it plays in the social life. So the part's contribution to the whole, see, part's contribution, part it plays to the whole in social life, and therefore the contribution it makes to the what, for what purpose? Maintenance of the structural continuity. So the system has got its own structure. To maintain the same structure in continuation, each and every part contributing to the whole, each and every unit contributing to the whole, each and every subsystem contributing to the whole system. This is what parallel definition on the part of A. Ratcliffe Brown to the so-called, that the very, the functionalism concept of, that very R K Merton. Ladies and gentlemen, you got one more person, of course, Malinowski, who spoke about needs theory. For him, the function of social or cultural items is a part they play within the integral system. Same meaning, people differ, words differing, people differing, the spirit never changes. Ladies and gentlemen, the spirit never changes. That's wow, that is what that you're going to understand, that. So it is the part, the play within the integral system of the culture by the manner in which they are related to. It's not only that, how, because all parts are interrelated, each and every part's contribution to the whole, so as to ensure social order. This is according to Malinowski. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about, and whatever maybe it is the right time for me, to take you to the next concepts, and some more concepts also available, that you don't worry. We are going to talk about reference groups and other things also, don't worry. So what is this? This anomie, the state of lawlessness, normlessness. We spoke in the world of Emil Durkheim, anomic suicide. We spoke in the world of Karl Marx as, that exploitative capitalism responsible for, that anomie, state of lawlessness, normlessness we are talking about. Of course, that how it is pushing an individual to alienation from the process, from the product, from himself and from community, from Karl Marx. But whereas Max Weber, we said, highly rationalized bureaucracy responsible for forcing an individual to feel alienated. But here, according to R K Merton, where he spoke, that under conformity and deviance, conformity strictly adhering to the norms and values of society called conformity, whereas deviance, you go away, you deviate from the accepted norms, you are said to be deviant, as we said, the example juvenile delinquency. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way, and that where we are talking about, I think, it got jumped, 1 second. Yes, it is right. Right, we jumped, that we left all this thing, it is right place. So anomie, state of lawlessness, normlessness, where we, spoke about two concepts, conformity and deviance. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. So the very culture and structure, cultural structure socio-cultural structure of the society. Society has got its own structure, interrelationship among all social institutions, and also it has got its own blueprint called, that the culture, it's a way of life, style of life, put together you call socio-cultural structure of the society that generates deviance. As Emile Durkheim said, suicide is social. He also says, that how the deviance is generated, because the socio-cultural structure of every society is responsible for that. How each and every society talking about goal, not prescribing, that efficient means, sufficient means to realize the goal. There comes, deviance. When the government is unable to address all those, that the shortcomings on the part of, that social sector, say education or health, what will happen? See, it is unfortunate, ladies and gentlemen. So, some institutions, the very core institutions, vital for the society, where, the private players are dominating, whether it is educational institution, the commercialization of education, or even a health sector, you've got hospital, because you've got infrastructural bottlenecks, government unable to meet. The government is playing with peripheral system. What is this? The core, vital for the very survival of the society, ladies and gentlemen, education and health sector. Even the Western countries, of course, they've got social security mechanism. Whatever you get, whether you get 50% or 60% of taxation, good. But they've got social security mechanism. They've got free education. They got, the free health, that facility. Do you provide? But without that, if you ask, that all those taxation, it is burdening. How people will go? Then there is no investment, no saving, no demands in the market, no economic, that improvement or development, ladies and gentlemen. So I think, hope, that the people aware of all these things. I don't know. That they are yet to fix all these things. They are struggling. Hope, that let's expect best out of them. This is not only, that this is the problem with developing countries in the world. Somewhat they have to, even you don't hesitate to avail loan to improve, to concentrate on these two structures, infrastructures, that takes you to the next level. So that is what we are talking about, that the lobby, the corporate driven politics, or even the political influence, the nexus between, the corporates on the one hand, politicians on the other, the corruption mechanism, everywhere. That's what social problem, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about. So the deviance for which who is responsible? Societal, socio-cultural structure is responsible. I hope, that whether legislators, all parliamentarians at present should be aware of all these things. I don't know whether they don't know it or consciously, that refusing to understand, neglecting otherwise, that's what happening, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about. Otherwise, even there are think tanks, they are unable to, that function effectively by various, maybe the aspirations to power, or even, that the corruption structure, maybe, that you become grateful to your own, the fundraisers, the party lobbying system, whatever it may be. You understand the deviance, all the deviants are generated. Why? Societal, the faulty socio-cultural structure. Talking about goals, not prescribing means, forget about that. We are talking about sustainable development goals. We already that fixed 2015, the deadline gone. Now 2030, how many countries are ready to, except Scandinavian countries and some developed countries, even India is about to meet only 70%. Some, that America and some other countries, of course, around, that 80 to 90%. And Scandinavian countries, very well, they top in all social indices, they are meeting. Think about rest of the countries in the world, more than 190 countries in the world. Why they are unable to meet? Because the whole socio-cultural structure is responsible. We have got goals, unable to reach, that the goals because of inefficient means or absence of the means. There, that the deviance is generated in various forms. That is what, that Robert K. Merton talking about this, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are talking about the, that the incompatibility, inconsistency between institutionalized goals on the one hand, health for all, education for all. How? Do we have enough means? Go to, that the government school, how teachers are behaving. 11 o'clock, that guy is going with, the brush. I've seen. 11 o'clock to the school, that guy going with brush. And through night, he would have done his, that private job, and, that slept up to, that morning 10 o'clock after drinking. He's going with lungi to the school, and, that with mouth. I've seen personally. I don't know what guys are doing. So, and signing. in the ledger, attendance ledger, and doing nothing for the class, nothing for the students. You just think about it, how, the means, how it is means. Otherwise, kids sitting under tree. I sat under tree in, the Panchayat Union schools. Today, of course, that we spend more money over, the private schools, because sending to, the private school, not because of, that the thing we have got money, but because of, they should not undergo the same, the pain. It is very fortunate we were aware. But what is driving them? It's totally different. It is that. So we are talking about, we don't have means. Even in the hospitals, we are talking about. Why people are going to private? It's because there is also conscious effort on the part of the government by some leaders, whatever may be the party we are talking about, to keep the very system in the same level, so that, that the privates, that are thriving, so that, that benefits the very party. So absence of the means, only goals there, the incompatibility responsible for all-round deviance. You produce deviant personalities in the name of institutions. The faulty socialization, no socialization, sometimes faulty socialization. They come up out of the institution with bad picture about the society, wrong perception about the society. That is why there is a gap. Two kinds of India we are talking of. Of course, government is trying to arrest, but they have to speed up the process, ladies and gentlemen. This is what we are talking here. So analysis over the concept of, anomie, that's what R K Merton, and prevalence of culturally defined goals. Got the idea, na? So his analysis over anomie, where he recognizes the culturally defined goals and institutional means for achieving them. That is what a prerequisite, so that you ensure the society is completely in conformity. But when it's not happening, it is said to be deviance. Ladies and gentlemen, the emphasis over goals by each and every society, but not on means. As I told you, that my mom, you have to become great man, you will become great man, my mom said. Means you have to figure out. You have to figure out. So there comes, responsibility on the part of the society to provide efficient means. We are talking about, of course, ladies and gentlemen, here comes, that we are talking about, that here, what is that? You accept societal goals. This, you accept societal goals. You also accept societal means. Say, for example, you accept societal goals. You should become responsible citizen in making difference in the lives of people. So you want to become civil servant of India. You accepted societal goals. But the means, you appear through, civil service examination by applying for UPSC. You are said to be in conformity. Innovation. What is that? You want to make difference in the lives of people. Yes. That what is the, that way you took, that otherwise, that what is the point? The recommended goal you just missed. Rather, you want to become maybe non-governmental organization. You start NGO. With that you do. You rejected the goal, but you had your own innovation. But in spite of that, you make difference. Otherwise, you go to the grassroots level, and maybe, that you may be, doctor or engineer, you give up everything, you go to rural area, you stay there with humble means. And there is one, that US returned one, that highly educated professor serving in the tribal area. And with, that cycling and, without even t-shirt, he was arrested twice. After that, he revealed. And people spoke, that cross-check with the United States of America with a high qualification. He started doing field work there, serving people, irrespective of graduation. There are so many people like that in the world also. That's innovation, making difference, enriching the lives of people who needed the real service. They are participating. Hope it's not turning into ideological influence or, that maybe the grand plan later. Whatever may be, that's innovation. Here too, you accept the goal, you reject the recommended means, but you got your own means. You choose innovatively. This is called innovation. Then you reject the cultural goals. You don't accept, that there are goals recommended by the society, but that you strictly adhere to the means. So you become, that graduate, you become, postgraduate, you join service, you do routine service, you get salary, you eat, you grow next generation, you die. Nobody remembers you. You never made impact on the society. You never contributed for the welfare of the society. You just existed. You never lived. You never made difference. In that sense, it's called ritualism, ritual service. You just, rejected the goals. Without goals, you did routine, ritual, ceremonial jobs because you accepted the means. You became graduate, you became officer, you got salary, you enjoyed, you died. Over. or whatever may be. It's not making impact on the society. But whereas here it's totally different. It is the rejection of the societal goals. This is called retreatism. You also reject the societal means. There are people without agenda, the roadside, alienated people, the hippie culture, whining, dining, no goal, no duty consciousness also, and rejecting the societal means also. Very irresponsibility to the core. You find some people, the roadside, even beggars. It is hippie culture, we call, that, that it is that way you're talking about. But there you got, one final thing, it is replacing the societal goal with their own goal, and replacing the societal means by their own means. It is called rebellion mode. Maybe all revolution, protest movements came this way. I think even there is a party in Tamil Nadu which has got political slogan which says, that Adangamaru, Attumeeru, Timiri Elu, Tirpiyadi. In Tamil, I'm going to translate, don't worry. Adangamaru, refuse to, follow the rules and regulation, refuse to be obedient. Attumeeru, trespass. Timiri Elu, be rebellious. Tirpiyadi, retaliate. Most of, the Dalit outfits in Tamil Nadu, otherwise throughout the India, this is what the thing, the Dalit organizations, they have started retaliating. That's what, that the caste-related conflicts in the down south, some case studies also you witness. That the Dalit kids, marrying upper caste, the girls, that elopement and honor killing, and that becomes political issue also. All these things you witness. It is that way because, hitherto they were oppressed, suppressed. They want to retaliate back. That happens ultimately. But that is not good for law and order. The young kids, that they will be, that manipulated, brainwashed. It's a targeted approach. Otherwise, that ultimately causes, tension in the community. The clash between the two castes, that becomes law and order issue that has got impact on elections also. So it is the thing. So of course, that the retaliation mode we witness with Dalit outfits, that's why the slogan on the part of some Dalit, it's not speaking right or wrong or bad. The nature we are studying as sociology, you come to know, you can link with that. You can link with that. So you will understand what is behind it. Whether it is right or wrong, we don't know. It is, that as a sociologist, sociologists are, apting sociology as civil service aspirant, you understand the sociology subject matter. This is how. Ladies and gentlemen, hope you understand. So this is, that Anomie we are talking about. This is according to, so because of the societal socio-culture, that socio-cultural setup responsible for, who is blamed? It is because of the the caste-based system, caste-based society, associated, that untouchability practice, associated social distance, purity pollution notion, privileges, disprivileges, ranking, hierarchy, oppression, suppression. Now they are trying to retaliate back. Otherwise, the very deviance you witness today. Of course, in spite of the historical correction, still 2 to 3 generations spoil, they are feeding the speech, venomous speech, finally, instigating violence. In the religious circle, you call blasphemous. Yeah, it is that way, ladies and gentlemen. We are talking all these things. It is right time, ladies and gentlemen. Let's move. This conformity, of course, Anomie, that where we spoke the 5, of conformism, innovation, we spoke everything. Ritualism, retreatism, rebellion, all various forms, but except conformity, all are called various forms of, that Anomie. The deviance in various versions. That's what, through diagram we explain. So the term Anomie, actually it is derived from Emile Durkheim. It is he who already spoke about state of lawlessness, Anomie. It is a strain towards Anomie. He spoke about it. Even, they gone to the extent of, defining suicide is social. Why? It's societal response. The absence of norms, state of lawlessness, normlessness, forcing an individual committing suicide. That is anomic suicide. One of the types of, suicide according to Emile Durkheim or Durkheim. From him, that very tall, that R K Merton derived this notion. For Merton, it means a discontinuity between cultural goals and legitimate means available for reaching them. You don't have legitimate means. You talk about goals, you don't provide by law, by legitimacy, you don't have justified means to reaching them. That's why all round social problems, that robbery or corruption even, that the corruption, of course, that becomes, tendency on the part of an individual. And there are kinds of corruption also. Otherwise, all deviance, that the widening inequality, the inflation otherwise. When people don't have, sufficient means to live decent living, naturally there comes ultimately, that the theft, all round social problems we are talking about, the chain snatching even. They're not ready to tolerate. Sometimes, that the safety valve mechanism, when they see, that maybe you would have, worked hard, earned money, you would have got good car, but you see, that some mentally disturbed like kid, that you talk about people from, that oppressed, suppressed community, when they see good car, they will use, the two-wheeler key, that especially to make a dent on the car. The bump, you get all those, you see, that's something gone wrong on the part of the very personality. They have to meet immediately the psychologist, psychiatrist, the counseling. We are talking about why the oppression, suppression, it is retaliation now. You see the manifestation, that deviance because of the socio-cultural structure, because he has to lead life, that fantastic. For that, he is running short of means when society itself not providing that efficient, that means by legitimate, that way, they ultimately, become deviants. They travel in the wrong path. So it is not blaming, it is up to you. Got the idea, na? So you start understanding that there comes, responsibility on the part of the administration to narrow down the gap and to meet this, that infrastructural bottlenecks, and to teach them in the beginning. Later you ensure that they are on the same page of our expectation. Later you can talk about, violations, the punishments, everything. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. Without providing, means, how come you can punish them? That it is, I'm not justifying that wrong behavior. This is R K Merton. The deviants are generated by socio-cultural structure. His contribution, part of the criminology, right? It is that way, ladies and gentlemen. So he applied to the United States, that otherwise, what is that? Everybody, that everyone aspiring to go to US. I think you've got a lot of movies also to go to US, like your own, that the friends who are all there and want to enjoy money, the lifestyle, it's a different world, whatever it may be. So he sees America as a dream. That's what's happening. People from different parts of the world. That's why the immigrant policy of Trump, very well. So go to America, settle there, earn money, and, you move to the next level. But there are guys never coming back. And there are guys, that parallelly contributing to the native community also. That's totally different scenario. He or she becomes, that role model to be emulated in the domestic circle. That American dream ultimately as an emphasis on the goal of monetary success. Emphasis on monetary, but without corresponding emphasis, that on legitimate avenues to march towards the goal. Got the point now? It is that way we are talking about. People are becoming ambitious, but the means. But but me, though that a lot of my friends, that pressurized me to reach there, I refused. I declined the offer because my interest towards, I achieved in that pursuit also. I could accomplish all my ambitions. But there are guys very conscious, they want to make difference from domestic friend. Later we can visit, as Prime Minister Modi ji did. Once he was, refused the visa because of his, the accusation, the Godhra Carnage, all those stuff when he was Chief Minister of Gujarat. But later he became, chief guest. Ladies and gentlemen, that should be the determination. It's not, that you're not ready to visit there. You got priority. You choose what should be your priority. It is that way we are also. But it may not be a case, for everybody. Some students want to go US, even the college days, first year they enter, I want to be like my brother, my neighbor, my cousin. They plan, they aim, they choose course accordingly, they prepare, they go, they settle, and they never come back. The later it becomes, that a bad moment for parents, that even on the day of death, they are never coming back, citing all those reasons. They've got their own justification. That's also parallelly happening. It's not blaming anybody. What is right in one point of time becomes wrong. Nothing is absolutely correct, nothing is absolutely wrong. You come to know everything. The opinion changes. That all your role models getting shattered in front of your eyes. You see everything. It is that way. So this leads to the considerable amount of the Parsonian term. Of course, that even the Parsonian used the very deviance we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. It is that way. This theory commonly used in the study of criminology. Especially, that specifically the strain theory of conformity is the attaining of societal goals by socially accepted means, while innovation is attaining of those goals in unaccepted way. Of course, that we spoke, it is elaboration once again, ritualism. We spoke concept, it is, the formalization of that, the concept by definition. you know very well. So you know very well. I think no need of. But in spite of that, let me speak. So ritualism is the acceptance of means but rejecting goals. We already seen. Let me that recall once again, ladies and gentlemen. This is what we spoke already. Accordingly, the diagram. I think that it is that way. I think ritual service, like ritual ceremony, you don't understand the purpose. Without goal, if you're strictly adhering to the ritual ceremony, you are ritualist. Of course, that's why ritual. The rites, what you do. Retreatism, rejecting both, the means and goals. As I told you, some hippie culture. People, irresponsible guys. Not responsible to the family or community, accountable to the society, not even that in terms of their own that the career growth or whatever maybe you are talking about. And rebellion, as I told you, that the combination of rejection of societal goals and means. That's what I said. Some political party slogan, even revolutionaries of this kind, maybe even terrorists can be brought under this category. They've got different goal and different means also, violent means, and the goal to topple the government, maybe like ISIS, even Al Qaeda, even LTTE. But for that those people, their goal is right goal. That's totally different, because that's why terrorism, you don't reach consensus. You label them as terrorists, but from their point of view, they are fighting for their own cause. Tamil. If you go and talk with ISIS, they will say they are going to establish the Sunni caliphate, Sunni kingdom in the world. So that is there. They say it is jihad. It's a holy war. They won't accept. But from killing innocents, especially civilians, from administration point of view, we label them as terrorists, because they took violent path. It's not recognized or approved path. That is why we are talking about all revolutionaries. Terrorists can be brought under this rebellious category. Ladies and gentlemen, innovation and ritualism are the pure cases of Anomie. Very well, because that the Merton defined it both cases, because there is a discontinuity between goals and means. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way, because in innovation, what happened, right? You rejected the very so-called the means we are talking about, that. But whereas in ritualism, you rejected the goal. Ladies and gentlemen, it is this way we are talking about. So both you see the incongruency, incompatibility, accepting one, rejecting another. That's why. So the pure cases of Anomie, the state of lawlessness, normlessness in generating the deviance or deviant personalities. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way we are talking about, right? So the criticism, I think it is right time. Let us enter into the criticism part. The very deviance or delinquency. What is deviance? Deviating from the accepted norms, going away from the accepted value system of the society, or rejecting the value system or norms prescribed by the society. You're such a bit deviant. So that deviance, when it happens at the that minors, that children less than 18 years old, you call that delinquency, the process. The very deviance called delinquency, not criminal activity as you deal with adults, right? Is a collective rather than individual response. Got the idea, na? So deviance is not only can be addressed at the level of an individual. When it becomes collectivity, part of social group, part of a community, part of a society, part of a particular caste group, what will happen? So here Albert K. Cohen, who also spoke about safety valve theory, because how they vent out their feeling, anger, how they retaliate, unleash their suppressed and oppressed the feelings. That's called safety valve theory. This Albert Cohen talks about that Merton fails to account for the non-utilitarian crime. So that's what I said. The guys that that's what the cars, all those parked cars in the that will be that you see. People make mark on that. Ultimately, they will through CCTV identify. We bring them to the book. That's happened. Even that happened. That I help people to identify that. It is that way through my CCTV that happened. So what we are talking about, and not only the destruction of public property. Some kids will go on the roadside. That they will see. That street light. If nobody is there, they will take the stone and they will destroy. That's something gone wrong on the part of the kid. Poor socialization. Improper socialization, otherwise something gone wrong on the part of the kid, that the kid never ensures something in order, want to destroy. Otherwise something which is not available at his home, when it is available for somebody, not ready to tolerate, try to destroy. Otherwise in the first year, when you enter into college, in the name of ragging, that happened for me. My senior, I never ragged anybody. I gave asylum to my kids, my juniors. But even I was, ragged. but that's different experience. My seniors used to collect, that the Reynolds pen was very famous those days. They'll take and they will cut that in a holder. That is mark of their dominance. Then I used to tell them, better you consult a doctor. You got something gone wrong. I don't know what made me to speak that way in the first year itself. Now I realize the connectivity. Yeah, because you don't want to see something in order. That is way. So what about, destructing the public property? People, sometimes when they use public transportation, they spoil the seats. Even the cinema theaters, you would have seen. That's why they check with, seat number and with the ticket. And that's why they've got, CCTV also, well. But that's sophisticated, malls, you've got that facility. Think about those days. You just imagine. So, Merton fails to understand this non-utilitarian crime. It may not be benefiting them, but it spoils the public property. It destroys the public property. But in my opinion, I say it is a safety valve theory. It is giving them satisfaction that they destroyed something, they retaliated something. That is the notion. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what happening. So this is accusation. Illegitimate opportunity structures in society. Okay, you're talking about absence of the, that socio-cultural structures, necessary socio-cultural structures in generating deviant personality. What about illegitimate opportunity structure? That the very caste system and otherwise, the widening social inequality, where rich gets richer, poor gets poorer. When there is no level playing field, otherwise when you compromise meritocracy, some cases, how do you justify? When non-implementation of the reservation policy by some officials with vested interests, maybe loyal to a particular caste. Ladies and gentlemen, what about the illegitimate opportunity structures, the creation of, that otherwise, like Robin Hood, the people have their own mechanism, otherwise the community interest, parochial interest, and that goes against, that level playing field once again. So this is also a question, that by Cloward, that Olin we are talking about. That's and rejection of Milton's, that very R K Merton's, alternative means of achieving, the mainstream goals. That's, that done by, the Walter B. Miller. It's not, alternative means, that rather, that some form of means anyway means is available. This opinion, of course, that how come you can say some other means, whatever it may be. So Walter B. Miller, that also criticizing, joining the critics, that going against, that the very Robert K. Merton, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for us, that to go for another concept. Of course, you gossip, what happened, that family, that friends, people interested in very gossiping. Today they will gossip about you, gossip about somebody in front of you. Tomorrow they will gossip about you. That's what will happen. It's better not to talk. Waste of time. When they are not hesitating to malign someone else in front of your eyes, what is the guarantee then they won't malign about you in front of some other people in the world? Gossiping. But this gossip, the opinion, public opinion, has got the informal opinion, has got strong effect on the society. The rumor, the false news, fake news spreading, even social network, that's what happening. Social WhatsApp university teaching you everything. Though we are very cautious, without verification, don't forward, please. All these things we are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, so the reference group, what is that? What happened? No, that group, that gossiping. Yes, something is available which these people are not entitled to receive. They are deprived from enjoying. The relative deprivation is a core concept for reference group theory. What is reference group theory? What is reference group? You treat particular social group as a matter of your reference. That influences all of your actions, maybe positively. Sometimes you don't want, that it may be positive. You want to get, you emulate, you imitate the members. You don't want to do that. There also it becomes, a frame of reference because, that's negative social group for you. Why the comparison? Why the comparison came? Something is there, is not here. Or something is here, that's not there. On this comparison, the relative deprivation. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way we are talking about. So the reference group theory, it's part of middle range theories, as I told you. That's between, the theoretical portion on the one hand, empirical portion on the other. All the concepts, all the contributions of, the very Robert K. Merton, can be defined, part of, that middle range theories. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. Social group, with which, that we refer in order to evaluate our achievements, compare the role performances, our aspirations, or even our ambitions. That is what reference group. It's a matter of comparison, right? So your dad will be saying, see, comparing with neighborhood kids. See the kids, how you are. Daddy, don't compare with anybody, Don't compare with, they compare me with anybody, because they never tolerate that comparison. You feel proud about your own neighborhood, but you are not, something is there, not here. Something is, that, so it is that way. So by comparison mode, relative deprivation, you feel relatively deprived. Something is available, it's not here. But that's wrong. The moment you go for comparison, it spoils your happiness. So kids should be brought up in its own style, uniqueness. Probably it's the failure on the part of the parents to understand that uniqueness we are talking about. But it is not always possible to be, that ideal. Sometimes we also lose, by various situations. It's all at the end of the family. You learn by committing error. It is right, and kids also will understand that when they find money and trying to, that learn or qualifying themselves, enabling themselves more. So it's all part of the family we are talking about. We underwent same thing we witness in other families too. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. So social group with which we refer in order to evaluate our achievements, comparison mode, of course. Accordingly, the very family, your own family becomes your reference group. You're proud about it. You feel proud about to be part of that particular social group, in the sense, that it is called membership reference group. When you are not member, you are treating somebody else, social group or family as your matter of reference. It is also a reference group where you are non-member. That becomes your matter of reference. You want to emulate that particular social group. In that sense, it is called positive reference group. It influences you. You don't want to be like that. There also it is reference group, but that it negatively influences. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. So, that any reference group, any social group could be called as reference group. You treat as a matter of reference. It is based on relative deprivation theory. You feel relatively deprived. Something is available, not in you. It is because of that. Accordingly, you go for classification. It could be membership reference group, non-membership reference group, positive and negative. That membership reference group, non-membership reference group, positive reference group, or negative reference group. See, let me say non-membership reference group. I'm dividing. So the reference group, what we are talking about, could be this way. Yes, 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 this way. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about, but what happens now? See, this anticipatory socialization you are going to witness. Why do you want, train yourself? As I told you, the non-membership reference group, your friends are there in the Missouri, Lal Bahadur Shastri Academy. They are, undergoing training, where you are non-member, but you want to be like that. You want to join that group that influences you positively. So this anticipatory socialization happens only in positive non-membership group. Ladies and gentlemen, so because that reference group, Lal Bahadur Shastri Academy, Missouri, your friends are there, where you are non-member and you want to join that is your positive membership. There, ultimately you prepare yourself, you train yourself to join there. That's why you applied for UPSC, you are preparing, you are sitting in front of me. Where the relative deprivation, happens. Otherwise, that the very anticipatory socialization, the very process, that you are doing because of this, for that, this is essential. It happens only in non-membership. What happens, right? First you enter, the entry becomes easier. Later, it becomes very easier for you because what is the value system practiced there. You already trained yourself. So it becomes smooth process of entry, even, that mingling with them, even in your social interaction there. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way we are talking. So middle range theory is applicable to limited ranges of data. We are talking about, that it transcends, that sheer description of social phenomena and fill the blanks between raw empiricism on the one hand and grand, that are all inclusive theory on the other. So that's why. So it is between abstractness on the one hand, that evidence-based, research on the end. On the other hand, in between, you talk about the middle range theory is all about, that R K Merton's, that middle range theory we are talking about. It is between, theories on the one hand, abstractness on the one hand, and empirical, show me proof attitude, evidence, empirical nature on the other hand. We are talking about the middle that level. That's why, that middle range theories we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. This is right time. Let's move somewhere, that to the next slide. What is this? R K Merton's advocacy of these kinds of theories, where Merton stands on the shoulders of, that Emile Durkheim and, the Max Weber, because he's enriching of the subject matter called sociology. That's why, that standing on the shoulders of, that Emile Durkheim and Max Weber, we're talking about, and that is why we recognized him as one of the founding fathers of sociology. Of course, modern, structural, American, the functionalists, along with, the Talcott Parson and R K Merton we are talking about. As we, told you, the relative deprivation, something is available for someone is not available to you. It's not at the individual level, group level. So this is the notion, basis for anticipatory socialization. This notion came first in American Soldier, the very book where, that R K Merton discussed this notion. That people joined the same time that, that the very military service, but one section of population enjoyed privileges, the promotion, everything. Another section of the population could not see that kind of, privileges. There came the feeling, the comparison, the relative deprivation, the very birth of notion there. That's according to, this involve the various terms, what I'm speaking with you. You can also refer William P. Scott, Sociological Dictionary, where you learn more. Ladies and gentlemen, that would be appropriate. As I told you, this is the basis for the concept called anticipatory socialization. As you prepare now to join, Lord Bose Sastry Academy, where your seniors, maybe friends, they will become seniors to you later because they already joined, that you prepare yourself. That's why you are preparing for civil service examination. It is a non-membership reference group because you are not member there. May serve twin functions. What do you mean by that? On the one hand, it aids you to get the membership there. On the other hand, once you become member of that particular group after becoming IAS officer, it becomes, that very easy for you in terms of adjustment, easing your adjustment. Okay, once you become part of it. Ladies and gentlemen, see, that the kid, for the kid, it is reference group in the opinion. So it influences all actions of the kid accordingly. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking this way. I think it is the right time. Let's move. Yes, reference group. We are talking, once again, the functional, it becomes functional only in relatively open social structure. Ladies and gentlemen, when the societal structure itself closed, mobility may not be possible. Where social mobility is zero. That is what caste system. But class system is not like that. Where we talk about intergenerational mobility, intragenerational mobility, horizontal mobility, vertical mobility. It is that way. When the system is closed, it may not be possible, that it fails. So it becomes functional only in relatively open social structure, providing mobility. Otherwise, it is dysfunctional, the closed social structure like, the caste system. Do you understand? So anticipatory socialization, or even the very, Sanskritization, the concept introduced by M.N. Srinivas was criticized by Yogendra Singh, is universalistic specific case of anticipatory socialization. What is Sanskritization? Very well. Mysore Narasimhacharya Srinivas, M.N. Srinivas, a structural functionalist Indian sociologist who witnessed this phenomenon, especially in the Mysore area, where lower caste people trying to imitate the lifestyles of upper caste people, thinking that they will be respected by upper caste people. It is not immediately declaring them, since they practice, they become, Brahmins or upper caste people. No, that gives them only mental satisfaction, that gives them only cultural change. That is called Sanskritization. Why Sanskrit? It is a language of upper caste people, lower caste people imitate it. It will be appropriate to be called as Brahmanization. So this is also the lower caste imitating the lifestyles of upper caste people by giving up non-vegetarian, that eating practice, or resorting to betel nut, Mama Sattavarela, this angle, or learning Carnatic music. It is that way. We are talking about all these things. This is a process, the cultural change, the Sanskritization, the notion, Mysore Narasimhacharya saying, but in spite of the caste system, closed system, he talked about mobility, not structural mobility, cultural change only. As we speak, another concept, westernization, ladies and gentlemen, but only modernization facilitating, the very change. We are talking about whatever may be here, I think, it is right time for you to link with that. So social group, I defined already, but you can also learn the formal definition. Number of people frequently interacting. See, interaction is the basis with one another, with the feeling that they have patterned expectations and forms of interaction. As I told you, people aware of each other, they know each other, they start interacting. Social interaction happens. In that social interaction, when it is becoming repetitive, frequent, the repetitive or frequent, that this interaction ultimately lead to a structure. Then a social group is born. People aware of each other start interacting. When they interact, among themselves regularly, repetitively, frequently, there arises structure when social group is born. Ladies and gentlemen, you would have understood. This is the notion. You can go through all the terminologies I'm using. For that, I want you to refer the dictionary. That so that you understand better. So you try to convert each and every concept into formula kind. Understand the keyword. Don't by heart. Don't by heart, please, because you are living. You try to connect, try to apply. Okay, this is what, because that stays with you for a long time. Don't vomit in an examination. That's not. You are going to be a leader. Like, don't copy, don't imitate. That I want you to understand and deliver and make difference. It is that way. So social group, right, with feeling that they have patterned expectations, forms of interactions, which are morally binding them. And on other members also, there comes, when the group is formed, it may be primary, it may be secondary, it may be tertiary. Accordingly, there will be variations, as said by Charles H. Cooley, well, ladies and gentlemen. So the positive reference group involves motivated assimilation. Because, why positive reference group? Social group, your friends in Missouri, you want to join that. Otherwise, even Sanskritization, M.N. Srinivas case, lower caste people imitating the styles of upper caste people. You want to emulate that. You got positive motivation, ladies and gentlemen. So, what are all the culture of that upper caste, lower caste trying to imbibe, assimilate, make it part of them. So positive reference group involves motivation of, motivated assimilation, of the norms of the group. Even sometimes, the kids, the non-Brahmin kids, that living in Agraharam, they will speak in Tamil Nadu. People from other states, I don't know, how do you regularize, that here we say, Ava, Iva, Vachindu, Poindu, Varrache, Noku Terima, Ava enna sonnanu. I'm speaking Tamil, ladies and gentlemen. Just translate the very style with which that upper caste people speaking, the same style the kids of non-Brahmin caste residing in Agraharam, they will try. I'm not speaking bad, right or wrong. It is very natural tendency influence. Otherwise, you think the people from rural area living in urban area, especially when they go to Madras has got its own language. That style they will try to emulate. You will witness then. So the influence under which they come. But when they go back to rural area, when they speak that Madras language, they may not be appreciated. So there will be influence, cultural influence. I'm not becoming judgmental. I'm not saying right and wrong. It is up to you. It's your choice. You live as you that believe. Ladies and gentlemen, so nothing to do with my prescription. That is what sociology. Sociology is all about, that, and providing two sides of a single coin. It's up to you. And not to recommend you something. That's not my recipe or prescription. You just understand so that you are there won't be confusion. Clarity is life, ladies and gentlemen. So the positive reference group involves motivated assimilation of the norms of the group or standards of the group as a basis for self-appraisal. Got the idea now? So it is that way. The negative, that type involves motivational rejection. That's what in the positive social group, that you try to emulate. In the negative social group, you reject. You also consider that negative group as a matter of reference, but you reject. You ensure that you don't get influenced by the value system. It is that way. So it's not merely that non-acceptance of the norms, but for the formation of counter norms. In the negative social group, you also have norms, but counter norms. Sometimes, you take decision because, that your friends suggesting. It may be sometimes, going against you. So you want to do counter. Whatever they suggest you do it opposite. It works. I'm not blaming friends. Sometimes maybe your family members. It works that way. Even there will be informer in the political parties. They take decision opposite to that. Because the informer also spy for some other party. It is that way, ladies and gentlemen. That is political strategy we are talking about. Is that way. So the criticisms, that against this, the application of middle range theories has problems with tribal and village, that the studies, that. So the R K Merton's middle range theories, which is in between theoretical, the perspective on the one hand, empirical perspective on the other, he could, that enrich the subject matter of sociology by contributing a lot of, the concepts, no doubt. But it cannot be applied to the tribal and village, that the communities. That is the criticism, that we are talking about. You can apply for the modern, that open structure, not for the tribal and village, the closed systems. It is that way, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about. So in the line of, the thinkers, the sociologists, the founding fathers of sociology, especially belonging to structural functionalism and conflict school of thought, we spoke, there are a couple of, thinkers. Under, the conflict school of perspective, we discussed, that the Karl Marx and Max Weber. Under structural functionalism, we discussed, Emile Durkheim. And then modern American structural functionalists, that of course Talcott Parson. In that line, that today we discuss, that Robert K. Merton. And it is Robert K. Merton who took, that structural functionalism, traditional functionalism, from the clutches of conservatism, so as to, that by attacking it, especially the postulates of functionalism, say unity, universality, indispensability, and so as to deliver the modern day goods, he took to the next level. Not only that, that his, the background, the social experience, where we also spent much time today, because, that a street fighter could come to the level of, that sociologist, the professor emeritus, professor, a scholar, and with a lot of, that, this is what his life itself, is a source of inspiration for so many people. And also his contribution in the name of, middle range theories, you come to know. Ladies and gentlemen, whether it is, that we are talking about, whether it is, social function, latent function, manifest function, functional, dysfunctional, even in the, that Anomie, the socio-cultural structures, how they are responsible in generating deviant personalities. Each and every society talking about goals, not prescribing, that ensuring necessary or effective means and its availability. That results in the gap between goals and means generating ultimately deviant personalities. As, that said by R K Merton in terms of, Anomie, state of lawlessness, normlessness, where we spoke about conformity, that innovation, ritualism, retreatism, rebellion. And not only that, that he also took us to the next level, that the very reference group theory. For that, he spoke about, what is social group and what is reference group and what is positive reference group, negative reference group, membership reference group, non-membership reference group, and where anticipatory socialization happens, where, the very relative deprivation, the core, especially he wrote the American soldier, that it comes ultimately. This anticipatory socialization, for which we gave you example, ladies and gentlemen. So all these theories, concepts, that the contributions of R K Merton, it's because of his middle range theories between, theoretical perspective on the one hand, empirical version on the other. He could enrich. That's why he was sitting on the shoulders of, the other Emile Durkheim, Max, that the Max we are talking about. That's why we recognized them, that as one of the founding fathers of sociology, especially belonging to modern structural functionalism. But the very criticism, that his theories could not be applied to the case of, tribal, the closed system, tribal and village communities. It's not free from limitation too. Ladies and gentlemen, so it's that way we are talking about, that the very Anomie, that under R K Merton, what we discussed, we also took you to the comparison with, the Karl Marx version of Anomie, how economic exploitation, the capitalist society responsible for forcing an individual to feel the alienation. The very Max Weber talking about, that the highly rationalized bureaucracy forcing an individual to see the alienation. And Emile Durkheim's version of, the very Anomie, where we are talking about, of course, that state of lawlessness, normlessness, forcing an individual to commit suicide, anomic suicide. That Anomie under R K Merton, we spoke in the root, in the socio-cultural structures. Ladies and gentlemen, it is this way we are talking about. I think this is, that I think hope this particular discussion would have enriched your, that understanding about, the thinkers. When it comes to, that material part for your reference, of course, as I said, many a times the sociological dictionary, William P. Scott or even Penguin or Oxford, You please refer and get fantastic ideas about that. The basic for every term available in the syllabus, I want you to work on. For every term available in the syllabus, you please start that generating 200 to 250 that the words write-ups. And for that, you refer all the previous year questions. That is the reason that I put in social media all those the questions. And you can also reach me in Telegram channel, as I told you, even the YouTube channel. The everyday writing practice is must. So understand the concepts, understand the questions, start generating answer and compare with, and I know that you will undergo the evaluation from us. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way we are talking about. That begins with your that the very that so-called dictionary. Then you take yourself to, if needed, NCRT books for sociology, then IGNO materials, then Francis Abraham we are talking about for thinkers portion. And if you are interested, it's not mandatory, Richard Douglas Goodman, but I consulted variety of sources. I try to present that enough information, and you also go through previous year questions. With that, are you capable of meeting these questions? If not, work on it, please. Definitely will meet. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that it is the right time for me to that to sign off. That we had wonderful, fantastic interaction. I believe you can also reach me that through Telegram and YouTube channel that as Success Sampath or Sampath Irvengadam using my ID. Ladies and gentlemen, this is right time that welcome to an Unacademy once again. Please go for iconic program and use my referral code, say success, to avail maximum 10% discount. As I told you, Telegram, YouTube, you can watch all my that part of Unacademy. Watch all my videos, even in the the Unacademy platform. Special sessions, free sessions available. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Unacademy once again. This is Success Sampath interact with you, and good evening for the rest of the time. And let's meet that one more day, and rest of the days otherwise that with different topics. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your passions and participation and learning and understanding. Thank you.